Hello, everyone. Welcome to Tuesday Night Live with independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator Teresa Harper. I'm located in Oregon in the United States, and I am hoping that you have had a good week as we all pray for those who lost their lives in Texas. Such a sad state of affairs there. Anyway, let's make some boxes tonight. Let's take a look at some online exclusives that released on the 1st. And then we'll talk about the two-tone cardstock sale. So let's see if we can find our video and see who we have on. And apparently we're not going to be able to find it easily. Let's go here. Come on. Oh no, don't tell me we're going to have internet issues. It is really windy here today, so hopefully that won't affect our video. So here we go. Oh, good. We're up. I see the feed. We're looking good. Okay. Let's wait for a couple of people to jump on. Hello, Tracy. Welcome, welcome. We're going to start with the Jar of Joy tonight. And it coordinates with the Sweet Jar Builder Punch, which is part of the Sweet Jar bundle. So you can purchase these two items in a bundle and save 10%, or you can purchase any of these items separately. All right. So we are going to be using the Jar of Joy. We're also actually going to be using one piece from the Sweet Jar because I like this particular jar lid for the project that we're doing tonight just a little bit better. So I will be using this jar lid from the Sweet Jar, but if you don't have this one and you're just going to get this one, you could use this one. It would be fine. Okay, let's wait just one more minute and see if we get anybody else on. I would like to talk about the 20% off all two-tone cardstock sale. That starts tomorrow, midnight, Utah time, on July 9th, 12:01 a.m. there, which actually here is 11:01 p.m. tonight. And that sale goes for 3 days, so the 9th, the 10th, and the 11th. And it will end at 11:59 p.m. Mountain Time. And you must remember that if you're on a different time zone, you need to factor that in to your time. Okay, so actually here in Oregon, it will end at 10:59 p.m. So it's important to note that. Don't wait till the last minute. If you're interested in a two-tone paper share and you're part of my local customer group, please get with me tonight before 11 o'clock so I can make sure that you're part of that paper share. All right. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started at 7:04. So we're going to go ahead and get started. See if anybody else jumps on. And what we're going to make, where did I put it? Oh, that's not good. I thought I had it here a second ago. I cleaned up and I've got this one. This was my original inspiration, and it is a fold flat box. This one is 1.25 inches tall, which I thought was a little thick, and I had a specific project in mind, so I revamped all the measurements to make mine 3 inches by 4 inches by 3/4 of an inch deep. And now I don't know what I did with that. Oh, here it is. It's hiding behind my thing. So this is what we are actually going to make tonight, right here. Okay, so you just pop this up. Then you can tie this with a ribbon, or you can use a Velcro dot, or you can use magnets. And then you can make them now and put them away, fold them flat, put them away for whatever. So we're going to start tonight with the Jar of Joy, like I said, and we're going to make us a Christmas box that we can make now and then save for later. So we're going to start with a piece of Pretty Peacock cardstock, and this piece is 6.5 by 8 1/4. Okay, you can only get one of these out of a sheet of cardstock, including 12 by 12. I'm sorry, that's just the way it works. Okay, so on the 6 1/4 inch side, we're going to score this at, you have two options. You can score it at 1/2 inch and 1 1/4 on both sides, or you can score it at 5 1/4, which is what I like to do, 5 1/4 and 6. I don't have to fight the edge of my Simply Scored tool when I do that. So again, 5 1/4 and 6, and then I'm going to flip that 180 degrees and do 5 1/4 and 6. Now, as you can tell on this side, that is 1/2 inch and 1 1/4. So if you prefer to do those measurements, please do, but I like the 5 1/4 and the 6. Okay, so then I'm going to rotate that 90 degrees to the 8 1/4 inch side, and I'm going to score this at 3/4 and 3 3/4. And then I'm going to flip this and do 3/4 and 3 3/4. Okay, and that is all of our scoring. Well, it's all of our scoring on the Simply Scored tool. Okay, it's not all of our scoring. All right, so we're going to go ahead now and fold and burnish. Hello, Cynthia. Hey, Cynthia, I sent you a text. If you could respond to that before 10 o'clock tonight, that would be very helpful. And I would know how much of the two-tone cardstock to order. Okay, so we're going to burnish on all of these. Okay. Hello, Jennifer. Okay, you guys, I'm going to go back over these measurements because you're popping in now, and I'm guessing that you missed them. Okay, so again, we'll do this quickly. We have a 6.5 inch by 8 1/4. I scored on the 6.5 inch side at 5 1/4 and 6, rotated 5 1/4 and 6, then rotate 90 degrees, score at 3/4 and 3 3/4 and 3/4 and 3 3/4. Okay. Hello, Laura. All right. So now we're going to trim this out, and I'm going to start with my long scissors. Now everything on this is symmetrical. These sides match up, these sides match up, so it doesn't matter where you start. All right. So what I do need to do though is I need to start two score lines in, and then I'm going to go up 2 score lines, and I'm going to remove these 4 sections, and I'm going to do that on both sides. So I'm going to cut this straight up to that second score line, and then I'm going to go to this second score line and cut up 2 score lines. And I'm going to remove that whole section, okay? And then I'm going to repeat that on the opposite side. So 2 score lines from the right, go up 2 score lines, and then over here, and remove that section. Okay. All right. Now, I'm going to move on to my paper snips. Now, on this piece, what's left, I've got 4 little 1/2-inch sections here, rectangles. So this is a 1/2 inch by 3/4 on all 4 of these. And I need to remove all 4 of those rectangles there, those 1/2 inch rectangles. So I'm just going to cut those off, those 4 outer sections now. Whoops. Okay. All right. So this is what we have left. All right, I'm going to bring in my template. And you can see that this looks like my template. Okay, so this is what we have left. Now we're going to take on these 4 outer pieces here. I'm going to bring in my silicone mat. And on the outside of the box, I'm going to take a ruler and my scoring tool, and I'm going to put my scoring tool right in the corner where those 4 scores meet. And then I'm going to put my ruler on the outside corner here, and I'm going to put in a diagonal score there. Okay. And then I'm going to repeat that on those 4 outside squares. I like to put my stylus tip right in the corner here, and then guide my ruler to the outside corner here. It's pretty important that you get this right on. Okay, so I've got that one too. Now let's get the last one. Putting my stylus ball on those 4 intersecting scores. And there we have it. Okay, so now I'm going to take these. I had folded these inwards. These ones I'm going to fold in the opposite direction. And now you see why it's important that you get that score. You need a nice corner right there. Okay, so I'm going to do that again. This one I'm off a little bit, so I'm going to try and fix that when I pinch it. Okay, keep going around, pinching those. Make a nice pointy corner there. This is going to be your fold flat mechanism. Okay, so we've got that. Now we can move this out of our way. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take and we're going to put glue. I'm going to flip this to the inside now, and I'm going to put glue in these triangular sections right here that are on the outermost edge. Okay, but up next to the score line. Okay, you can use whatever's really strong adhesive you want. I'm going to use liquid glue. Okay, now there is where you want your glue to be. Okay, then we're going to take this, and all we're going to do is fold this flat. I'm going to take my bone folder and press so that that glue really adheres in those 4 triangular sections. It's the burnishing that will make a difference as to whether your box will stay together or not. Now you of course could use tear and tape. I just found it easier for this project to use the liquid glue. Okay, now let's go ahead and let that dry for a minute and let's start decorating because our box is now made. Okay, so let's go ahead and grab our designer series paper. Oh, and before we get too far, this box you can either have this piece go all the way to the front. That's why we have a 3/4 inch piece. Or I'm going to cut off of this section right here. I'm going to cut 1/4 inch off because I'm going to give this a fancy border treatment. Okay, so I'm cutting just 1/4 inch. Now, if you cut your paper to 8 inches, it messes everything up. Don't do that. I tried it. I messed up my box. It's so much easier for your brain if you just make the box with the directions and measurements that I gave you and then cut that off. Okay, so let's pull out our designer series paper that we're going to decorate with here. Okay, so this paper is the Regal Distressed Patterns paper. This was in last year's holiday mini and it carried over and it is still current and available. You get 2 pieces of the cherry cobbler in gold, 2 pieces of the white with the gold, and 2 pieces of pretty peacock with gold. Okay, so your measurements are, this is going to be our lid. So if you have a directional pattern, you need to take that into account. So you should have 2 7/8 by 3 7/8, but you will find if you, depending on how you cut it, you might need to take that 3 7/8 and take it down a 1/16. Okay, depending on how you cut off your side pieces. I've had to trim mine a 1/16 of an inch every time. Okay, so 3 7/8 down a 1/16 by 2 7/8. And we're going to add this to the top of our box. Now, if this is directional, this needs to be the bottom of your pattern and this needs to be the top of your pattern. Okay. Now, we're going to leave this for now because we're going to put our piece on the back of our box, and I like to take and match these up so that they run evenly. So I try to look at that before I cut or before I glue. Just so it looks nice and continuous. Okay, so this is the back of our box here. And then we're going to put a 1/8 inch piece here. But this piece is going to fold up. So if you have a directional piece of paper, You want to hold it this way, and the top of your pattern needs to be up here and the bottom of your pattern down here. Okay, and I'm going to match these up again like that. Okay, make sure I did that right. And then add this to this section. Okay, I didn't put any designer series paper here. You could if you wanted, and this would need to be 2 7/8 by 5/8 if you were going to put them here. I'm not. I took a piece of gold foil and the Fancy Borders dies, and it's best if you use a 3/4 inch strip. You can do it with a half, but a 3/4 inch strip makes it a little bit easier. This particular one is a half, and it works with this piece okay. So just take your piece, line this up at the edge, and then run it through your die cut machine, and you'll get this, okay? And you could use either one of these pieces, but I'm going to use this one. And we're going to bring this down, and I'm going to line this up how I want it here. And then I'm going to glue that down. So I'm going to put just a little bit of liquid glue here, right there at the edge. The important thing to note here is that when you put this down, you can't go over 3/4 of an inch. Okay? So you have to keep it under 3/4 of an inch. The total distance between this score and the end of this. Okay, so keep that in mind. Put your fold line on a score mark or on a line on your grid paper, and then make sure that you don't go over 3 of those. So I'm okay here. I've got a little over 1/2 of an inch, but I'm not quite at 3/4. So I'm okay for what I'm doing here. And I'm just going to give that a good press, just like that. Okay? And then to be sure, I'm going to measure that and make sure that I am not over 3/4. I can be under, but not over. Okay? Otherwise, my box won't lay flat. It'll stick up on that edge. Then I'm going to take my paper snips and snip off the excess. And now I have this nice gold decorative edge. Okay, so let's go ahead. We'll pop our box up. All we have to do is take and go like this. We press the front and the back. Our sides will pop into place. And then we'll have that nice decorative edge on the front. Okay? See how that works? Now, I'm going to go ahead and put a piece of designer series paper along here. And this piece is 3/8 of an inch by 3 7/8. And that's going to be just a tiny bit too long. So I'm going to just snip off a tiny little bit of that. Put that on there. Again, I'm trying to line up my things. You don't have to if you don't want to. That's just a thing I like to do. Whoops. I should be on my silicone mat, and I'm not. Okay. So let's make sure we line those up again. Okay, put that on there. And now there is all of my designer series paper. Okay? All right. So again, those were the fancy borders that I used. I really like these dies, and they're wonderful for box fronts like this. Okay, put those away. Now all we need to do is decorate, but before we decorate, we're going to go ahead and close up our box. Okay, and for that, we're going to use a Velcro dot. Oh, those fell out. I better put those away. Those fell out of my thing, my Simply Scored tool. Gonna lose those. Okay, so I'm going to take a Velcro dot. These are 3/8 inch thin fasteners. You can get them on Amazon. And I'm going to take and pull off the adhesive backing on the white side. There's a white side and a clear side. I like to take my white side and I'm going to put it on the back here in the center. And I like to take and line this up. This is 4 inches. So I'm going to put this at the 2-inch mark. Center it up there. I'm going to take my bone folder, give that a good press. Okay, then remove my backing from the clear side. Okay, come on. All right, there we go. I'm going to pop my box up. I'm going to get everything straight. Make sure it all looks good. And then I'm going to roll that along and give it a press in the center. And then I'll carefully open that up. Whoops. Yep, carefully, because that popped right back off. Okay. Make sure we're still all squared up. All right, so now we got that. Now I'll open this back up. Give that Velcro dot a really good burnish. And now I can add the contents for my box. I've got a Little Debbie Christmas gingerbread soft cookie that I designed this box to fit. So we'll just put that in there, close that up, and now we can decorate. Okay? How you liking it so far? All right. So let's get some stamping done. I need a piece of basic white. I need a piece of basic beige. From the Fright Night dies. These were part of the online exclusives. It is a bundle. This is the stamp set, and these are the dies. I've taken the smallest of the Fright Night labels here, and I've cut one out of basic white. Okay. And the first thing we're going to do with this is we're going to bring in a red blending brush. So what did I do with my red one? Oh, I put it right on top of my ink pads so I would have it. Okay, so let's bring in our ink pads. I'm going to take some cherry cobbler ink. I didn't have any cherry cobbler two-tone paper, or I would have tried it. So I'm just going to give this a little cherry cobbler treatment here. I didn't want it to be full-on strong cherry cobbler. So I'm doing what I usually do when I want that lighter tone and I don't have two-tone cardstock. Okay, so now I can clean that up. I'm done with that, and I'll use the chamois that came with my Glass Mat Studio. This is in my online store if you're interested. Okay, so we've got that. Let's set that aside. And then let's grab our white and our basic beige here. Let's start with the basic beige. We're going to do a little bit of embossing. I'm just going to go along the edge here because I need this long edge for our greeting. So I'm going to take that topper from the Sweet Jar stamp set. I got a hair on there, and that's going to be a problem. Let's clean that off. Make sure I don't want any lines in my thing. So we're going to take this and some Versamark ink, and we're going to ink this up. And stamp that down. And then we'll get our gold embossing powder. And we'll pour that on. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and put this aside because I'm going to need this again. But for white next time. Okay, so we've got that. Let's get rid of those and put those out of the way. Hopefully I can find them when I need them. I'm going to warm up my heating tool. And then I'm going to set that. I like to heat from both the front and the back. That helps to keep the cardstock from warping so much. Okay. And now we've got this beautifully embossed gold lid. Okay, let's bring in our jar from More Than Autumn. Okay, we've got this. We need to stamp a jar and a cup and some whipped cream. Okay, so let's start with our cup. We're going to stamp that in early espresso. Okay, and then we're going to get basic beige. We're going to ink our jar. And we're going to ink our whipped cream. I'm going to hope this all fits. Okay, so we've got that. Now, while we have our whipped cream out, let's get our sprinkles. I don't think I grabbed those out. I need the sprinkles. Where are my sprinkles? Shoot, right here. They're right here. Right here in front of my face. Okay, I forgot to grab those. I'm sorry. Again, we're going to take the early espresso. And we're going to put some chocolate sprinkles on our whipped cream. Yeah, that's good enough. Okay, now let's close this up. This, we need one more. I gotta get this cut out first before we do that though, because otherwise we're gonna mess up our thing. All right, let's start stamping our gingerbread cookies. So we're gonna start with pecan pie. This is from the Jar of Joy. I'm gonna ink up my pecan pie. And I'm gonna bring this in. Set it right down in my jar, like so. And then we're going to take our cherry cobbler and we're going to line that up. I'm going to put it over here, hover, and put that down. Okay, so there is my jar. All right, now we need to cut these out. These have coordinating dies in the More Than Autumn set. Okay, and here they are, already die cut. And then we need to punch this out. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to take this out first though, because I need this. Because I needed to stamp a second cup, but I only need this section right here. And I don't want to ruin that section that I need by punching my jar. Okay, so now I'm going to take my jar punch and line that up and punch that out. And then I'm going to go ahead and add those chocolate sprinkles to this die cut piece. So we have those. And then we're going to take pecan pie, Stampin' Blends, and we're going to color our cup. Now you could color this before you die cut it, but I did want to show you how I quickly colored it, and I didn't want to wait to die cut, so I'm doing it this way. Okay, so I'm using my dark pecan, and then I'm going to go back with my light pecan. I'll leave a little white section there in the middle. And then I'm going to slowly let that kind of fill itself in just to leave a shine mark. And do the same down here. Blending the light and the dark as we go. Okay. Okay, so our cup is ready. Now we need to take this, and from the Jar of Joy, there's some like little snowflakes. We're going to take some Pretty Peacock. And I'm going to fill those in. Okay. And I wanted to do that before I cut it so that I can be sure to cut off any of those dots I don't want. And I'm going to cut in the middle of the ink line. Normally we tell you to leave a white border, but in this case, because I'm going to paper piece it, I want a little bit of border left here and a little bit of the actual cup border that I'm adding it to left. Okay, so now I've got this piece. I can add this here. Okay, and I'm just going to go ahead and add this on. And now I've got this cute little cup. Let's add some liquid glue. And then I'm going to add my whipped cream and set that aside to dry. This piece is now ready. Oh, what did I do with my embossed piece of, there it is. Let's go ahead and punch out our cap. Now let's flip this over. I'm going to add this here. We're going to stamp our sentiment here on this, what's left of that scrap of basic white or basic beige. That is not the correct sentiment. This one says sending a jar full of love. It's from the Jar of Joy. And I'm just going to stamp it right down here at the edge as straight as I can. Okay. And then I'm going to take my trimmer and trim that close. Okay. And then I'm going to trim that off. And that off. Okay. And now our sentiment is ready. There's only one other thing that we need to do that I forgot to do, and that is to get my scrap of pecan pie. And with this, what you would want to do is take 2 of the little gingerbread men from the More Than Autumn, stamp them in Versamark. Of course, you wouldn't dry emboss or use the embossing buddy. Stamp in Versamark and then use the white embossing powder to emboss that. And when you get done, you need 2 of those. You'll have 2 pecan pie and white frosted gingerbread guys. Okay, let's get these all out of the way and let's get this box assembled. Okay, so we've got this. Let's go ahead and add a little bit of liquid glue to the very bottom of our jar here, our jar lid. Okay, let's bring in that, hang on. Let's bring in the silicone mat and stick that down. Okay, now we've got our jar together. What do we have left? All right, Let's start assembly. Let's go ahead. We're going to put this down flat with a little bit of Stampin' Seal. This is going to go on the top of in the top 1/3 of our box. And this particular die cut barely fits on the edge. Okay, let's put a little bit of liquid glue on our sentiment before we completely press that tag down. This barely fits, but it's perfect. Okay, so now we've got our sentiment. Does that look a little crooked? No, I guess it's okay. All right, so now we're going to take our cup and we're going to put some Stampin' Seal on there. I'm going to put this off at an angle over on the side here. We're going to get our jar and some Stampin' Dimensionals. And we're going to add those. And we're going to put this down here, kind of like that. And then we're going to get some white baker's twine. Did I put that away? Seriously? Oh, wait a minute. We're not using white baker's twine. I didn't put away what I needed. It's right here. We're using the red and white baker's twine. My brain went blank for a minute. Okay, so we're going to take this. I'm going to tie a double bow with my twine. This is in the annual catalog, carried over from last year's mini, and they put it in the new annual catalog, so we get it for a whole year. Trim that off. All right, so we've got that. Now let's take a glue dot and let's roll that up with our take your pick tool into a little ball and stick it to the back of our bow. And then I'm going to add this bow to the box over here, like so. And finally, we're going to take our little gingerbread people and some mini dimensionals. I'm going to take one mini dimensional. I'm going to put it on my gingerbread guy here. And stick my gingerbread guy right here on my cup. And then I'm going to take this gingerbread guy and I'm going to take one of my mini dimensionals and I'm going to snip it in half. And then I'm going to take one and I'm going to put it at the top of my gingerbread guy's head. And I need to snip that. I got just a tiny bit sticking out. I've got it a little too high right there on the point. Okay, so we've got that. Ooh, there we go. And then we're going to take the other half and we're going to put it down at the bottom. And then we're going to straddle the center of our twine bow. I'm going to open this up, give that a good press so I make sure I get the Stampin' Dimensional on both sides. And we are almost done. Okay, So let's grab some peppermint, some real red and white peppermint candies. These two carried over. And we're going to take these, and we're going to take one of the larger ones. I don't want the large one, I want the medium one. These come in 3 sizes. So I'm going to take a medium one, and I'm going to put over here. And then I'm going to take 2 of the smaller ones and put one here. And I think I'm going to take a large one and put it here. Whoops. Okay, now, because this is a fold flat box, I can take this out, lay it flat, and now I have 2 boxes ready for Christmas. And all I have to do at Christmas time is throw in my treat, seal up, pop this up, throw in my treat, and seal it up with my Velcro dot, and it's ready to give. Okay? So we have that. Now we're going to go fast on the next project, because the next project is another one of these boxes, but it's for a different occasion using a different stamp set from the online exclusives. So let me just pick up real quick here so I don't lose things, because I got a lot of stuff out right now. I need to throw back in the bins so they don't come up missing. Okay, again, here's that template for you to look at. All right, there we go. I think I'm ready to go. All right, let's grab the next bin. And this time we are using the Spooky Halloween stamp set. We will again be using the fancy border die. Wherever I put it, now I can't find it. I hope I cut it already, because I don't know where I put those fancy borders. Oh, there they are. I buried them. Okay, we're going to be using these. Okay, so this time we're going to be using this fancy border die. And this one you definitely need to start with a 3/4 inch strip. From the Textured Notes dies, we're using this die for our sentiment. And I've already cut that in basic white, I believe. And then we've got the Spooky Halloween and its coordinating die set. Okay. Again, that's a July online exclusive. So let's pull in our pieces here. Okay, I already cut the box base. Again, this is just the same 6.5 by 8.25, and I've done all of the pre-scoring, and I've got that all ready to go. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and put my liquid glue in these corners right here. Yep, I'm okay. Yep, I'm okay. So we'll just glue those up. Just wanted you to see this part again, so you know how to fold it. Because the template will be on my blog, so you'll know how to cut things. And of course, you'll have the video replay on YouTube. Okay, so I've got that. Now again, I'm going to cut 1/4 of an inch off of this edge because I'm going to add a treatment to this. Okay, so this is what we have so far. This box is ready to pop up and use. And if you didn't cut, well, even with cutting that off, you could still use this. Just put your Velcro dot on there or tie it around. Your choice. You can have a short front, you can have the full front, or you can have the fancy border treatment like I'm putting on. Okay, so with this one, we're using the Spooky Sweet Halloween paper. Okay, so here is this paper. So we're going to use this pattern. I'll give you a quick flip through of these. You get 2 each of 6 designs, but 2 of the sheets are not double-sided because they are die cuts, aka ephemera. Okay, and that's these 2 pieces here. You get 2 sheets of these ready to pop out die cuts. Okay, so we're using this candy piece tonight. Let's see if I can get this back in here without destroying my ephemera. Okay, and we're also using this sheet. Oh my goodness. Okay, so let's see if I can get you a full sheet. Right here, looks like. Yes, this one right here. And we're going to be using this tag. Okay, so that's down here. Put this back in. So let's pull out those pieces. So here's our tag, and I clip the corners with my snips. And then I've got my 3 7/8 by 2 7/8 inch piece of paper, which again, you can see I'm going to need to trim. I've got this. This is the textured note die that we're going to stamp our sentiment on. 3/4 inch piece of black, and I'll show you what that looks like here in a second. And then I've got 2 5/8 by 3 7/8. And then I've got a piece that is 3/8. Okay, that's my designer series paper. Let's pull out the fancy border die, and I will show you how I did this. Okay, so we're taking the fancy border die, 3/4 inch piece of black cardstock, at least 4 inches long. Taking my die, I just put it along the edge like this, making sure that these pieces are even. Then I tape that in, run it through my die cut machine, and this is the piece that I will have left. Okay, so let's go ahead. I'm going to add this to my front here, making sure again that I don't go over 3/4 of an inch. Okay, so 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. I'm too far here. I've got to push that in. With this one, I pretty much have to put this one right up next to the score line to make it work. Okay, so I'm actually gonna do this from the back to start. Push that up like that. Make sure I'm not more than 3/4 of an inch. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Looks like I'm too long, and we'll double check that. Now you can see why you have to make sure you have that. See how we have that lip? That is not going to work. So we're going to go ahead and push this in a little bit further, and because we use liquid glue, we have some sliding time. Okay, so I'm going to check this again. It's still a tiny bit long on this side. So let's go ahead and move that in some more. And I did not have this much trouble the first time. Oops, now it's stuck. Okay. Darn it. Okay, we're going to need to put some more glue on there. I'm just going to pull this whole thing and put it down here. I'm going to put some more glue. And move that down. It did not go on as easy as it did the first time. Okay, so I'm just going to move this down here like this, and then I know I'll be good. Okay, and 1, 2, 3. Now I'm good. I know I'm good now. And there we are. Okay, so we're good. Let's do that. Now, I did not like the way this looked on the back, and that's why I have that piece of cardstock. So I'm going to do that. And you see how this doesn't curve? So I'm going to actually go in here and curve that. Just take my snips and make that curve with my basic black there. Okay? All right. Now we're good. Then we're going to take our Designer Series paper. This is a non-directional pattern. So I can add this on here. Ooh, and I said I needed to trim it. It's going to be side to side, and that's okay. I'm okay with that. All right, so we've got that. And then we're going to take and add this to the front here. Remember, this is the front of our box. We're going to add this piece to the back of our box. All right, and then this piece I'm going to add to this inside here, just to cover up that black. And I'm just going to put that up next to the score line. And now we've got just a little bit of decoration when we open that up. Okay? So let's go ahead and decorate the rest of the box. We're going to take this piece, but before we do, we need to do some stamping. Now, to save us some time, I pre-stamped and colored the 2 little characters because I knew it would take a long time with the first box. So I've got these 2 ready to go. These are the colors that I used to color it. Okay, so we've got those. That gives you those 2 little characters. And I die cut them with the coordinating die. But we do need to add a little bit of treatment to this piece. So we're going to take, this is from the Spooky Halloween suite. We're going to take this with some basic gray. And I'm going to add just a few of those little dots. Okay, like so. And then we're also going to take with the basic black, or the Memento Tuxedo Black. In that same stamp set, there are some bats. I'm going to ink up 3 of these bats. And I'm going to put them over here. Okay, clean this off. And then I'm going to ink up 2 bats. That's going to get on my thing. Hang on, I only want 2 bats, and I could use a tissue, but I'm just going to wipe this off like this. And then I'm going to put these 2 little bats right over here. Okay, there we are. And finally, we need to take that white textured note die, and we're going to take this with some pumpkin pie and the Don't Worry, Eat Sweets from that set. And this barely fits. Okay, so there's our sentiment. And now we're ready to start putting this together. So let's pull our box back in. Get our tag. And again, I'm going to put this down flat. But I'm going to put this at an angle. Got to make sure it fits on the box, but I do want it at an angle, like that. Okay. This, oh, I did it in the wrong color. Shoot. I was not going to use this. I was going to use basic black and I forgot. Okay, let's cut another one of those real quick. It looks better with the basic black. Sorry, guys. Let's just grab that textured note die real quick. Actually, let's do this the way that you would do it. And that's to stamp it first. And then die cut it. Because I messed it up. So we'll just do it this way. And then we'll tape that down. And run it through the mini. All of the dies in this bundle fit through the mini machine. Okay, there we go. Now we've got that. And now it's the color it's supposed to be. Oops. Oopsies. I forgot to put the pumpkin pie away when I decided I wasn't doing that. Okay, so now we're going to just put this right down here. with some seal. And put it right side up. Right along this edge. Just like that. All right. And then we're going to take our little critters here and we're going to pop those up. And I want a little mini for his lollipop. That right in the center there. Okay. Always like to use a combination. I don't like to cut dimensionals if I don't have to. So we'll just put that out there. Nope, can't see it. Phew, that was close. Take all the backings off. We are almost finished. I'm going to put our little doggy guy, our little doggy Frankenstein about right here. And our cat right here. And the last thing we need to do is put on our embellishments. Okay. And those are the summer or shimmer star foams. Shimmer star foam stickers. They come in purple, white, and black. And we're going to take some of those off. And we're going to take one of the small black dots here. I'm going to put over here. I'm going to take one of the medium black dots. Put over here. Like that. And then I'm going to take one of my purples. Put it up here. Like that. Might want to move that a bit. It's too in line with my black one. So let's move that over a bit. Then we're going to take one of the white ones. And we're going to put that down here. And then we're going to take one of the tiny black ones. And I'm going to put it right here. Okay. And there we have it. Now, of course, you're not going to put Christmas cookies in here. So, what fits? Let's pop this up. I've done some looking for you as to what's actually going to fit besides the cookie. You can put 3 Nestle's Crunch Fun Size bars in here, and they will fit perfectly. Okay. Oops, I forgot to put the Velcro on. We got to get that done. Okay. So we've got those. You can take 2 of the Unreal Dark Chocolate Coconut bars along with a Nestle's Crunch and put those in there, and they'll fit just fine. Or you could just do, you can't do 3 of the Unreals, they don't fit. So if you're going to fill in the middle, you've got to put something like this. You can also put 2 York peppermint patties in here. I only have 1 because I ate one earlier today, but 2 will fit. You can also put a bag of fun size M&Ms in there, and I'm sure you can find others. But there we have it. Okay. All right. I'll go ahead and add that Velcro later because I don't want to keep you too late. There we go for one. And here's our other one. I hope you enjoyed those. Thanks so much. And remember, these are great because you just fold them flat and store them away. Make them now, give them later. Already done for you. Okay? Such a quick and easy box to do depending on how you decorate. And everyone would love getting one of those. Okay, everybody. Thanks so much for joining me. Remember, we do have that 20% off the two-tone cardstock sale starting tomorrow, running for 3 days. If you're participating in a paper share, please get with me before 11 p.m. tonight. I'll be available for all my local gals. And let's talk soon. Oh, and as a reminder, I will not be here on Thursday night because the summer dance season starts, and I will be running my granddaughter to dance every Thursday night. All right. Thanks, everybody.